All right, so now that we understand the difference between acting choices and character choices, today we're going to start to examine how these character choices are creating a message. And so we're going to do that by watching this short film. So I'm just going to start by playing it, and when it's done, then we'll talk about it.
I thought I'd find you here.
I'm not nervous, you know? I'm sweating so much, and I had to get some air.
Yeah, but do you love her?
Yes, I love her.
Well, then if you love her, then you have no reason to be freaking out. These things always work out.
Oh, what did you do?
My mom used to do it to me. It was really helpful
Wow.
whenever I was stressed. Yeah, it's really good. It's like pressure points.
Wow! Stop it!
I think you're right.
Give Sarah my mouth.
This is all my fault. I can take you to her.
If I don't make it, tell her my vows. Sarah, if I die today, it's still the happiest day of my life. I'm not nervous anymore.
All right, ridiculous, I know, and also pretty disgusting, but it's nice and short, and I think we can get the idea across of what we need to do. So you're going to go onto your chart, and it starts by asking you the theme, and that's the message. So what I would do is I would start by just really thinking through, what is the film trying to say? What is it trying to get across to us? And I would brainstorm. All right, so here I've brainstormed 3 different possibilities for themes. So the first, say what you need to say before it's too late. Sometimes trying to help make situations worse, and then trying to do something that isn't understood can have disastrous results. All of these are valid. There's many, many more themes, and you perhaps have come up with something else on your own, and that's great. What you want to do next is you want to think about the acting that you saw in the film, and which of these 3 you can best explain how acting is getting there. So say what you need to say before it's too late. I can think of examples of how he uses his voice like that. Sometimes trying to help make situations worse. I could explain a lot about how his facial expressions trying to help making things worse, and then trying to do something that isn't understood. We can look at that as well. But I think for me, the one that's going to be easiest to explain is that sometimes trying to help makes situations worse. So that is the one that I am going to pick. So you're ultimately going to have one theme after you've done your little brainstorm. And then I'm going to go through this next step. So the first column is always going to be technique. So that's different ways. In this case, remember, it's always acting. You're only using one layer. So within that layer, what are different techniques? You could talk about the different elements of body, the elements of voice, and the elements of mind. So now I need to think of specific techniques that fit into that category. You can't be general and say like looking scared, right? You have to find a specific facial expression or voice thing that happens that shows that. So I would go back to the film and I would rewatch it and find those examples. So my first instinct is to go to where he does this movement here. But the problem is that that is not an actor choice. That's a character choice. So I can't use that. Remember, I'm not looking at any other layer. I'm only looking at acting, and I can't look at character choices here. So what I'm going to pick for my acting choice is probably one of the most disgusting parts, just to warn you. But the sound that the actor makes as they're trying to help. So when we have him leaning over, that's all character choice. But the actor choice is that he's making that noise to go with it because his best friend has just made everything worse. I could pick his desperate voice, the loud volume he uses, and the emotion in his voice as he yells, "This is all my fault." And I also have the end, when you see his face, the realization of what's just happened. All right, so the 2 that I decided to go with ultimately were either glug noise as the groom spits up the sweat and the end shot of the frown on the face. So the next column asks you to explain the effect of seeing that or hearing that. In this case, it's both. So when you hear that glug noise as a groom spits up sweat, it makes you feel disgusted, right? It's gross. really, really gross. All right. And then when you see that a frown face, it also is creating emotion. In this case, it makes you feel sad and it makes you feel sorry for the best friend. So, oops, sorry about the typo. So now we have the third column, and that is where you have criticism, where you explain how that technique in that column is tying up to your theme. How do the glug noises as the groom spits up sweat show that sometimes trying to help makes situations worse, all right? So in this case, the glug noises are he's trying to say something, and in trying to speak, he's actually making it worse because he's creating more of the sweat coming out. He's not stopping the sweat, he's word. So in trying to explain helpfully, the groom is actually releasing more sweat, which is worsening the speed of his demise. I want to use the words from my theme in my criticism. So here you can see I have the word helpfully, the helpfully, and I have worsening, right? So I'm going to underline, or I'm going to bold, or somehow distinguish that these are words actually from my theme, and you are going to do that as well. So now I do the second one, the end shot and the frown on the face. How is that explaining that sometimes trying to help situations makes them worse? So I'll fill that out by saying the friend was trying to be helpful and cheery, but he's now left alone and worse off as a result of his actions. So that's what you're going to be doing in the future. I want you to fill out this chart. You can feel free to just copy it. Tomorrow you're going to be doing this on your own, so hopefully this gave you an idea of what you're going to do. Remember, technique, that's one of the elements, in this case, of acting, the actor's use of body, voice, or mind. The second one is the effect, how that makes you as a viewer feel. And then the third is the criticism. How does that technique tie to your message that you found? Have a great day.